on your plus side, you don't make the home for the first, but we'll give you this. You can sing the national anthem. And the older I got, that darkness was still there. And I would literally minister at church. I would watch them be healed. And I would go home and just be in the dark. Like, I would be plagued. And I never forget one night I woke up and I know it was Holy Spirit. He said to me, let's rewind take a little bit. Let's go back about 2014. He did the celebration of the gospel on BET. And somebody shouted you out. Nikki. Barbie gave you a shout out, which leads to a friendship, and then by 2017, a collaboration. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Why would you take the risk? What made you say, I'm going to do it? I might get some passionate about this, but I'm saying the way. This is the teaching with Clay. All right. Check this out. We got somebody super special for y'all today. I don't know how season 2 we got blessed with the best guest, but we did. We got obviously a chart topper. She's a chart topper. Dropped the #1 hits, the Billboard hits. Obviously a multi-Grammy award winner. And one of the Grammys, you know what I'm saying, I got to be with it. You know what I mean? It's a dual thing. I got to be a part of the judge. It's amazing. But she's also, a boundary pusher. And somebody who's real, who everybody can connect with. It's almost like, you feel like, that's my life. That's my son. Like, she's a lot of things. She's a wife, she's a mother, she's my sister. Pastor Kyle, Brandon in the building. What's up? What's going on, man? I made it. It's a lot of things you've done. I just want you to know that. When I gotta go down the list of all the accomplishments, like you've done a lot of things. Oh my goodness. You feel that? You feel like, damn. I don't feel the weight of it. It's great. I feel like I just feel blessed. I don't feel deserving. Okay. So, that's a weight question. No, I'm just saying, like, I don't feel the weight of it though. Okay. So when people go down a list like that, I'm like, whoa, okay. But it is like, it's super impressive. Like, it's like, wow. Same. Well, okay. But I'm saying I really recognize girl. I sit back sometimes and I'm like, man, like, what happened? You know what I mean? Yeah. And then on the flip side, but here's the difference is like, when I was a kid, it wasn't probably you just seen the church down. They were like, so, and it was funny, I do want to talk about that because a lot of us do know you for all the major accolades and things you've accomplished, the shout outs and the Billboard and the Grammys. But let's go back to a little passion. You know what I mean? So it's like you was a PK. So talk to us about with like growing up at PK, what it was like, I didn't go to church. I enjoy letting people. I enjoy letting people. For money. Yeah, I enjoy it. I'm an artist too. I love church. Been drawing since primary school. The discipline was, you don't need to go choir rehearsal, you don't need to go. I love church like that. Like, I was the church kid. But I look back, I think the older you get, you realize, you start to realize some areas where there was deficiency or trauma. Like for me, and I've had this conversation a bit more with my mother now, more recently, because I'm more verbal about it. For me, I do feel like, because I was a very mature kid, I at a very young age, there was a calling that people could, you could see that it's there. Yeah. I think that I was exposed to a little bit more than possibly should have been exposed to. The drama of church. Painful. I tell you that story. I remember vividly when I was younger. Like one of the music things I do feel the pain, but not that. No, that's painful, man. The weight of responsibility that should belong to me. You know what I'm saying? And so though I love church, I feel like there was this responsibility that I was expected to carry that should have been on a 2-year-old. Right? You know what I'm saying? So my dad actually started pastoring our church.
was 10. So I grew up in our family church at first. So our family was very, very active. All of my mom's sisters, my grandmother, my grandfather was chairman and like, so it was a family church. And then when I was 10, my dad launched a church in Scriven, Georgia, which was about 10 minutes outside of our hometown, Memphis. So even then, everybody was playing with the church with us. Screaming! Come on, shout out! Everybody's still like, yeah! All 80 y'all. Yeah. And so when you get that, the responsibility becomes more heavy. So now I'm the pastor's kid. So you got the responsibility of, the Sunday school, administrator, you teaching Bible studies, by 12, by 12 doing all kinds of stuff. And it's cool because it was popular back then, but I think sometimes you just want to be a kid. You know what I'm saying? And I was not that kid. So take the pressure off my mother. I wouldn't be when you grow up. Okay. So when you look back, I was that same person. Like that I am now. I was a thinker. I was put myself on fast. I was just doing too much. You know what I'm saying? I was doing too fast. Come on. Y'all don't judge me.
We are figuring out what crayons we gonna use.
I don't care. This is the truth. My cousins would be like watching cartoons and stuff. I'm in there watching Jimmy Swaggart and Benny Hinn. I would make my brother lay hands on the TV back then. Benny, I gotta teach you this is church stuff from back in the day. Benny Hinn would be like, hey, I feel healing. So I would tell my brother because my brother wears glasses. Like, God's gonna heal your eyes. Put your hands on the TV. They were crazy enough to do this for me. I was super. So right now,
nobody was like, I just want to watch Alvin Gary.
I want to play Nintendo. What are we doing? Why are we in the prayer conference?
Okay, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry, I got cut off because I've never heard anything like this in my life.
Really?
No, like ever. I got these churchy friends. Like, you win.
I'm at the front.
The churchy battle. You won the battle with the Benny Hinn hands on television. Like, that's okay. So wait, so you preaching stuff at 10 years old?
I did my first sermon when I was 10. Okay. They called it a trial sermon back then.
What was the goal? Like, what in your mind? If you could go back as a little you, what do you feel like the goal was? Like, were you just like, was your mind like, I just want to be holy? Or was you like, I'm going to be a pastor, I'm going to be a leader? Like, what was the goal of all of this?
That's so crazy for you to ask what the goal was. I have no clue. I feel like it was fulfilling purpose. I really believe that. I feel like it plays a major part in who I am today. Honestly. Yeah, it was me through and through. Like literally at school, I have even when we were in high school. In high school, one of my aunts was a social studies teacher in third hall. And all of us church kids would hang out in the hall. We got that in church hall. She would come out and say, there's a time and a place for everything under the sun. I think she was in the same church as us. She's like, y'all are doing too much. Be kids right now. So I think it plays a major part in who I am right now. But honestly, this is comical. But when it comes to fasting, I can tell my husband, like, listen, I got fast sort of. I started when I was 10.
You get fired.
Y'all can respect there, people.
You get fired.
Yes, relax. I got fast.
En je ook notice just to protect it, against the sun.
And I know I'm thinking of me, but I really don't know this world, this life. Yeah. So when as a young teenager, you going through puberty and all of that type of stuff, and there's desires, temptations, like are you just there was no sense of like I gotta rebel or I gotta like you didn't go through that?
I love this question because I have to give kudos to my parents who were they made sure that we were balanced.
Okay.
So even though I was well churched, they made sure we had, and I grew up in a Pentecostal holiness church. So back then, but they didn't make us do it.
Okay.
Like, so I wore pants. We went to the movies. We went to the parties. And that, they were very, very intentional about creating balance for my brothers and I, and even my cousins, the whole family. I guess they were in agreement with it. So I played sports. I played basketball. I was, part of everything. Softball, track. I did all of these things that created balance in my life. So I wasn't like the kid that was out there prophesying and preaching at church, but I had a strong foundation in the church. But my parents made sure that I understood there was so much more to life than speaking in tongues and falling on the floor all day. Even when I would do the fast, my parents would be like, "Gosh, you need to chill out.
You better not fall on the floor. Come in the room."
Right, exactly. You know what? They made sure that I had a balanced life, and I'm so appreciative for that because there could have been a tendency to lean too far, to the left or to the right, but they made sure that I was balanced.
Does that make sense? You weren't forced.
Yeah.
This was your choice.
Yep.
You desired it. They encouraged you.
Yeah.
You desired it.
Yeah.
And then they didn't shit. Because see, my mother grew up in the church. She grew up in the culture church. And she has a lot of scar tissue because she felt forced.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like she couldn't wear pants.
Yeah.
She couldn't go to movies. She couldn't go to sporting events.
Right.
So when she got out, I'm doing everything.
Yeah.
It was like, so
we had the balance. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So did you, when did you know that singing was a part of this journey? Like when did you know I can sing? Like I'm good.
So this is the crazy part. I grew up in a family of singers. So my mother, all of her sisters, and all of their kids. Now this is the crazy part. My mother had 2 brothers, and none of their kids could sing. But all of the sisters and their children could sing. So we grew up just singing. We would, on Christmas, the whole family would gather, we would sing, we would do hymns. My grandfather loved hymns.
Yeah.
So we would sing hymns at the house. We actually traveled from church to church, like in Jackson. We thought like in Jacksonville, Georgia. But we would go from church to church, singing together. And so I wasn't one of the lead singers. Like my aunt, who was like the singer of the family, she had daughters who are amazing singers to this day. And I played keys at my dad's church. I used to play the keyboard. Don't tell nobody because it was only for a season.
Okay.
Like PKs have to do whatever we have to do to make church go.
Yeah.
And so I was playing keys, and right around 15, we started a community choir. We would go around and sing, never church record songs. We do the whole record. Sing the whole record because we were bored. So I was always creative. So I was like, hey, let's just start this choir. Me, a few of the guys who play instruments, we got together. We had a choir probably with about 50, 60 teenagers. And we would go from church to church doing these concerts. And so I was directing the choir at the time. And one of the guys who was supposed to lead Now Behold the Lamb got into like a minor car accident and he couldn't make the concert. And so everybody started looking at me like, Tasha, you gotta sing. I was like, I don't sing. I don't sing in front of crowds. What are y'all doing? Like, why are we doing this? And so they would not let up. And so it ended up that night, I sang Now Behold the Lamb. And the same way people respond right now, they did it that night. I was 15, so it was like a late bloomer. And I opened my eyes, and people were in the floor, they were crying, they were in worship, and I'm looking at my parents like,
Now come on. You can't tell me you was not in the mirror singing before this, like, I'm nice.
No.
Because you come from a family of people who do.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I think what was more shocking was the anointing that was on me. Because all of those years, remember, I started preaching at 10. So I was being cultivated as a communicator. So the singing was like, wait, this is different. Yeah. So even my parents were in the audience. All of us were looking at each other like, uh-oh.
So God just took that in.
Yeah.
Now, hold on. I gotta stop right now because I need everybody to understand that this interview they're hearing, they could have heard early. They didn't have to wait till today. They could have got it a day early on the B-Side app. If you subscribe, you get everything early. You're not late. You're not waiting. Everyone's talking about it online, and you're like, what are they talking about? I missed it. All you gotta do is subscribe to the B-Side app. Not only will you hear from me, you hear from other amazing people, and there's lots of other amazing attributes and perks you can get to. So make sure you subscribe to the B-Side. Do it now. That's really wild.
Yep, I was 15.
Okay, so clearly, like as you tell me your story, I'm like, God's hand just on you from a young age, you know, and you see it. I also, and I don't want to fast forward too much because I'm just trying to understand the dynamic that makes you who you are. Because when we first connected, I was like, she gospel, but she got some sauce,
Right.
Like, where does sauce come from?
Right.
What is that? Is that something you was raised in? Like, what is that? What's that? Because you got a lot of church kids, like, Kevin on stage, oh, look, that's my dude. He ain't got no sauce. Kevin, you ain't got no sauce here. And you know that about you. You just like, man, look, man, I'm a churchy kid. That's my dog.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, Tasha, you, like, if somebody don't know you a church girl, they would be like, yeah, she cool. Yeah. So how did that come about?
I think that plays a part. I think the balance, my parents being intentional about balance plays a part in it. Because, we were like we watched MTV, the video. Oh yeah, we did all of that. So we actually used to host parties. So like, I was always entrepreneurial too.
Okay.
So we had this thing where I was like, we created like this team group and we wanted to do some college tours. Yeah. So we said, okay, we're going to some parties and people come in, $5 entry. So we made like thousands of dollars so these teenagers could go and do like this. So I was always entrepreneurial.
Okay.
And I think the balance between culture and church was just always there because it was allowed in our family. It was allowed, it almost encouraged. Like, hey, as much as you do this, we want to make sure that your impact in the world is going to be potent. So we want to make sure that you are cultured as well. Yeah. So I haven't thought about it that deep until right now, but I think my parents being intentional about that is kind of what creates this balance that I have now.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it immediately. When I was talking to you, because, entering into the church spaces, I had to learn, like, how people move, and I'm like, when I started talking to you, I was like, you use regular language. You know what I'm saying? It was like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know how the church was going first. I don't know. It was like, you know what I mean? But then like, I said, man, this is bigger. You know what I mean? It was like, yeah, this ain't only, I was like, oh, where is it? You said like, you want my family members. Like, what's going on here? So I kind of caught that vibe. When I did meet you, it was off the heels of Break Every Chain.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a massive moment. Like, like a lot of people.
I will never forget, you gave me such wisdom. We were at a Grammy, it was like a Grammy nominee party. And it was my first time meeting you, and you gave me some wisdom that even to this day, I lean in on it. Like, so I take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for not like hoarding or holding on to the wisdom that you learned over the years, because that was necessary for me at that time. It's 3 people, you, CeCe Winans, and Ricky Smiley. During that time where Break Every Chain was really blowing up, y'all gave me 3 nuggets of wisdom that I'll never forget. That's a lineup. That's a lineup.
We're down and CeCe and Ricky.
Yeah.
I just remember how big that was.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's a big moment in the culture. At any time, and this is what I think a lot of people don't realize, when you have something like that, where it's a big song, and everybody knows the song, right? In the culture, the work outside of the church.
Yes. Yeah, it impacted culture.
Right. When that happens, it's a different kind of spiritual reality taking place. Like, you didn't ask for it, you didn't, but God said, no, I need this to create that. I think a lot of people don't know what to do with all of that. Because it's like now, God is breaking chains literally in the lives of people, but at the same time, it's like now it's hard on your back.
Yep.
Talk to us about like the experience of all of that. Like just the songs really big. Like what are the highs and the lows? What are some of the things you started to see, good and the bad?
I love this question because it gives me an opportunity to like bring it all to a head, because I feel like God is so intentional that we laughed about me being like a churchy kid, but it created this foundation and an anchor that made me be able to withstand that season. So it was always intentional, and it made me feel a little weird and awkward, but I feel like the anchor that I had in the relationship that was built with them was helped me to withstand that season.
Yeah.
Because during that time, My mentor, William Murphy, he used to say to me, you're rich to the nations, you're rich to the nations. And I didn't quite understand it because, I'm in a black church leading worship, but you keep saying you're rich to the nations. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, maybe he's talking about, okay, you're going to bridge the gap between blacks and whites. I didn't realize then that the bridge would be cultural bridges. Like, just, when people think about that, they think about diversity in church. It's not just black and white. There's so many different cultures. I could be, you're black, I'm black, but we came from different cultures. We just talked about that, you know what I'm saying? And so being able to bridge the gap between people who didn't grow up the same, who may not even believe the same, there was something about that song that transcended all of those ideologies and different, theologies and said, man, there's something on this girl and something about this song that we can all relate to. And so you're right, it creates this target. But I think I was prepared for it because of all of the years of digging and creating this anchor. You know what I'm saying? So I was in my mind, I'm still a little top because I was anchored in it. Like that was the place where I was. And so anytime there was a wavering or something that would cause me to be shaken, I would go back to that relationship with Jesus. Where, I was 10 years old and he did faithful to spirit. So no matter what comes now, I have an anchor in who you were,
Yeah, it always, even to this day, like, because I know you now, and it would make sense for you in this season of your life to be able to write a song like that. It's a profound song.
Yeah.
But I didn't know you then. You were just young lady.
Yeah.
And I was like, what did you do? I don't know about that song. I got to think of that song. How you know about that? Was it like, were you thinking of other people? Were you thinking of your own life? Like, when you crafted a song at such a young age, are you just pleading with God? Like, what's the thought behind it?
So let me correct that. So I didn't write the song. I did write the tag on the song. So I did that part. But this guy named Lil Regan, he wrote Break Every Chain. And let me tell you how I got to this song. And we're going to talk about this because it's something that we actually have in common. During that time, I was also with depression and anxiety and fear. So I was ministering at my church every week, watching people get healed, set free, and delivered. And I would go home for days in the dark, under covers, and being plagued by fear, anxiety, and rejection. And I remember we were traveling to an event somewhere in Georgia. I like to drive. So I was just driving the whole team, everybody sleep on the way back, and I just kind of let my, during that time I was just at YouTube play, see whatever would come on. And the song Break Every Chain came on. And I was just like, oh my, I could feel these walls that I had built up just slowly breaking away. And something that I had been dealing with for years and struggling, going from altar call to altar call. Lord, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get rid of this? But that song, it started to pierce those gates and those walls that were built up causing this fear and depression. And for 2 weeks straight, I just played that song over and over in my house. Over and over in my house. And I could feel the depression begin to break off of me. So I think a lot of times when people hear me listen to that song, people ask me, "You tired of it?" No, because I have a testimony of the impact that it has on somebody's life. I have this expectation that every time I start saying there's power in the name of Jesus to break every chain, somebody in that room is being free from suicidal thoughts, from rejection, fear, anxiety. So for me, it's much more personal than this is just a pretty melody. And I think that's what comes across even when you hear it, on the radio, in your house, that she has some type of personal connection to that. And that's what I feel that people feel when they listen to that song.
So this is the funny part. We're going to be serious, because I want to talk about what you just said.
Yeah.
But the funny thing with me is, if you can re-sing somebody else's song, people think you.
Right.
You done sang that thing all the way down to the ground.
I mean, you wrote this for me. Like, it's just evident. He wrote. I think it's songwriters and songwriters.
Yeah.
Sometimes God will give you something for somebody else, and He gave him that one for me.
Yep. I wrote some songs for some people. I don't say which ones, but they for them, and I don't need no credit.
Yep.
So Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. You know, you talk about depression and anxiety and the ongoing battle, right? When did you first like feel like encounter this reality of like, oh, like I feel awake?
You know, it's probably the first time I spoke about it, just in an interview like this. When I was younger, I feel like it was there, but I have mastered masking it.
Okay.
Like, I was the plus size girl who hung with all of the popular girls who were really the definition of what the magazine says, you know, slender, long hair.
Time out, I forgot you were plus size.
Yeah, you were.
Dang, I just hit me. I was like,
Yeah.
that's what I forgot.
Yeah.
That's how. Good job, whatever you're doing.
Thank you.
Good job. I really have forgot.
Working it out. Yeah.
Okay, go back. My bad.
We talk about that too.
Yeah.
But so yeah, and I was like the plus size girl, dark skin, you know. So there was these things. So for me, like for instance, in high school, it was a big deal to be on the cover report. Well, I was one of the most popular kids. I am the head of every little. What do they call them? Social group. You know, I'm in chorus, I'm in band, I'm going down, playing the sport. But because you're plus size, you don't make the most of it. But when you do this, you can sing the national anthem. You know? So it's just big, but you don't fit the mold of the city. So it's all these little blows. I would mask and say, you know, big girls still rock. You know, back then, only was out, so she was an hour, big girls, big girls. And I feel like back then, it was there, but I found a way to mask it by overachieving. So I'm gonna make all A's. I'm gonna show you that I'm just as good as everybody else. You know, and so I don't have to think a word about my parents were very, they affirmed me very well. And so I feel like it was there. I had a conversation with my cousin sister. We have cousin sisters. Like, we're cousins, but we raised like sisters the other day. And she was like, Tasha, I never knew. You know, we talk about it now, and she was telling me how it makes her feel. And I was like, you know, I don't think I had definition for it either. Because back then, you raised in a Pentecostal holiness church, and you don't go to therapy, you don't have counseling, it's shunned. So you don't have words or language to articulate what you're feeling as a child, or even as a teenager. And it may not even be appreciated, because here's another thing. I grew up in a home where we were pretty much middle class, so I didn't lack anything. You know, everything we needed, we had. So you don't get to complain. You don't get to say, you know, I'm feeling some kind of way, or I got a darkness. And it's not something, you know, that my parents would say. It's just culturally, there are other kids who are going through what you need to hush. You know what I'm saying? And so I think all of those made me just bury those feelings. Everything that I just mentioned made me bury those feelings, because you get to sing at homecoming, so don't complain. You know, you got to enjoy it, so you don't need to complain. You know, so I feel like that all played a part. And the older I got, that darkness was still there. You know, like, what is this that I'm feeling? I would literally minister in church, and people would laugh. I would watch with healed, like literally healed from diseases, you know, set free. And I would go home and just be in the dark, like I would be plagued. And I never forget one night I woke up and I know it was Holy Spirit. He said to me, Tasha, and so I got up and I washed my face, and I was like, I've never heard this. I had never heard of the spirit of rejection. I don't know if it was just something I ignored or just missed in church, but I had never heard of it. So I started studying it, and everything that I read, I was like, this is what I'm dealing with. Like, rejection is it's a depression of a branch off the root of rejection. Failure, like fear of failure all of those years, the branch off the root of rejection. And so all those years I'm going to altar calls, and he's like, you've been calling it the wrong thing. You're not dealing with depression, you're dealing with rejection. And until you deal with that, you got to keep cutting off branches. So then, that's when I started like, okay, let me study it. Because I feel like when you get a revelation or understanding of something, that's how you can really address it better. So I started studying like all these years. This is why I went to therapy, you know, to get confirmation, like, hey, this is, so how do I deal with this in a practical way? What are some things that I can practically to help myself get through this. And she was such an angel, to walk me through that. She was like, a lot of what you're doing is just self-rejection. So we go back to those years where, hey, this is the church girl who the deacon is looking for her to take care of her son in Sunday school. So all those years I was rejecting the flaws. Like the Tasha who still have issues and it's okay. You're a preacher can, you're anointed, but you got some issues and you got some flaws and it's okay. We're gonna love you anyway. And so I had taken on the responsibility of rejecting those flaws because I didn't know how people would receive them. Because I'm the caring for there. Yep.
That's so good.
I'm glad we started when we started because now I can go back and just be honest about, no, it was good. You laughing, you doing all that stuff as a kid, but there were some things that needed to be dealt with.
Yeah, no, that's really good. That's actually helpful. I feel like that actually is look back easy for me as I think about it. As a kid, you don't realize you're masking stuff. You don't realize you're overcompensating. And I think that's something. It's probably why, sitting talking as I think about it, it's like, probably why we're so accomplished is because internally we're driven, because we were wired to be driven, because we had to be, to deal with all of the, it's like, I don't want to look at any insecurities, any struggles, I'm just going to win,
Keep it moving.
achieve, push it, and even to this day, I'm similar, like, I don't celebrate much.
Okay,
that was really good, I'm glad we did that. Okay, what's next?
Did y'all send out that email?
See?
Yeah, I had to deal with that, and one of the ways that my therapist, she told me to get my family involved. So this is my outreach. So sometimes I have like arthritis in my toes. I know the sneaker game is tight, but it's because I couldn't wear heels and stuff anymore. So I was like, if I'm gonna wear sneakers, I'm gonna be best at it, right?
Okay.
And so so right now she was like, have your family make you be present. So right now to this day, this was years ago she told me to do this. If I have something that's happened in our life, whether it's good or bad, my husband will stop me, grab me on my shoulder and say, how do your toes feel? Like, are you having a headache right now? How do you feel internally? Like, he'll stop me and make me be present. Sometimes my cousins will do it. Like, hey, Tasha, how do you feel right now? Are you having a headache? Do your feet hurt? And though they're addressing something that's physical, it makes me be spiritually present in the moment. Like, now stop the celebration.
That's good.
Yep.
Because I'm the same way. I need to be grounded a lot of times. Just be like, okay, let me be present. I'm on. They say like depression is like you're reflecting on the past or something that's not happening, and anxiety, fear of what hasn't happened or what's gonna come. And as you're talking about that too, another thing you said, which is I find interesting in church world, is like you went to church, saw everybody get delivered, healed, and you're like, hey, what about me? And I think a lot of people wrestle with that, like not knowing, like, okay, God, I know you can do this, but then at the same time, us not having enough maturity to see, like, sometimes God is working something else out behind the scenes that we don't really even understand. And as a kid, you would have known, like, oh, I gotta just wait and understand what God is doing behind the scenes. But hearing you, hearing Taraji, hearing Rock, I felt like I wasn't crazy. I didn't know, I feel I'm high functioning, but I got, these things. And some of it is like, it's generational. We all got generational sin. Right? Adam sin, go down the line. But some of it is this like thing where it's like, hey, you can trigger something that has been going on. My grandmother dealt with this. My mom it's like you got this potential, and if you don't navigate it right, you're gonna trigger something that's been going on for generations. You know what I mean? But I appreciate you being transparent on that. You said this, and it shocked me. And I'm like, oh, you've been living with this. And I never even thought about it. But you like, y'all was a plus size girl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, but see what I'm saying, how even me, I can just look at your accomplishments, I can look at what you've seen, I can look at everything, and I think, oh, that's something that could be internally created. So what was that? Like,
it was people ask me all the time, even coming into the industry, I think I just had this ability to compartmentalize things. Like I feel like the prejudices were there,
Okay.
but I was so here
Yep.
that I just, I'm so focused on what I believe God has called me to do.
Yep.
I'm not gonna worry about what you're saying about my appearance.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And though I felt it, I didn't focus on it.
Okay.
And it's kind of, it goes back to what you were just, I was so driven that I didn't have time to stop and deal with the whatever people were saying about my appearance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Were there like people saying stuff?
It would be, yeah, comments and stuff for sure, yeah. I remember one time, there was a comment where somebody would say, you can't leave me in the worship because I can't get past, the way she looks. It just things like that. And back then it was like MySpace and Facebook, but still, it impacts you. It to this day, you can have a million positive comments, and that it'll just rub you the wrong way. And so that was just another place where I had to overcome whatever comes with this platform. And so I even then I would do hey, big girls rock, bigger, and I don't know that I fully believed it.
Mm-hmm.
You can say one thing but feel something else,
Yeah.
and I feel like it was the thing to say. Because I'm a plus size girl with a platform, people are watching, people are following me, there's this song that is going crazy, this album is #1, and so you gotta be positive, even about your appearance.
Yeah.
So I took on that language,
Yep.
but not necessarily, I don't think I felt it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, did you even want to embrace that, or you did because you had to? Did you want
Yeah.
to? Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, it's there. It's not going anywhere. It's visible.
Yeah.
So you have to choose a side. Either I'm gonna be depressed about the way I look, or I'm gonna be positive about it.
Yeah.
I wish even now, I wish that I could say that I was okay with it, but I can't say that for sure.
Yeah.
And I know my family don't like for me to say that because they're like, you were always just so, but it's just, I learned how to mask it behind language and behind my actions.
Yeah.
That I'm okay with this. But I wasn't. And I think a lot of times, I want to say, I never said this either. I told you to make people feel proud. I think a lot of times, culturally, we should be a little bit more empathetic about how we address the disease of obesity. Because not to be a spokesperson or anything, but I believe I can speak on it because so many years I battled with it. I feel like people will be more open about their feelings about it, and maybe more open in addressing it if it wasn't such a negative approach to how you address it to people.
Yep.
Like people say this, and I might get some lashing about this, but I'm saying where people say even in church, we are reluctant to go to the churches because of the way you address it is jokingly. If we address it in a more loving and kind way. That's how I feel.
We understand this is a struggle,
yes.
Or this is the reality of reality.
It's a disease, yes.
Let's navigate this.
Yes.
I never even considered that.
I feel like and even when I started to lose the weight, I started having a conversation with my family about it, and I would say, looking back at pictures now, I'm like, I was 9, y'all didn't say nothing. Well, we didn't know how to address it. We didn't know how to say it, and I think to speak on behalf of those who are plus size, if you do it in a more loving manner. Because I love you, I feel like maybe together we can address this in a way. What do you feel like would be the best way to do it? For us to do it together. I don't know that people, even especially back then, this was like the 90s, so nobody didn't have a lot of language for it. But I feel like now, if I were to give any advice in that area, it would be to do it in a loving way. And let them see the love of Christ in the way that you address it. I think the response would be much better.
You were the judge today.
I've never said that before.
That was very educational for me too. Because as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, man, at the end of the day, everybody's got some kind of insecurity.
Yes.
Every single human being understands. Most of the time, you're slandering somebody else because it makes you feel better about yourself. You know what I mean? But I feel like everybody got something they're dealing with, but few of us are brave enough to say, hey, this is the thing.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you saying, like, hey, this has to be addressed differently.
Yeah,
You know what
I
I mean?
feel like it. And even in, with our churches and stuff, I think we should address hope more,
Yeah.
but in a way that's so loving. Like, create a space, create, I don't know, a small group that does working out, exercise, invite your friend to come with you, something like that, where it's not so aggressive.
Yeah. Like you own,
Take it off. Yeah, right. Yeah, take the edge
or
off.
crack a joke.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
You got my wheels spinning.
Yeah, because people's lives are hanging in the balance on that. Like, when I look back at those pictures, it makes me sad because I feel like maybe I didn't create the space for my family to address it with me. But also maybe they just didn't know how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me though, like hindsight or just looking at it, man, you got such a loving family too.
Oh.
So it's like I'm just thinking like
Yeah.
the stories you telling and then
Yeah.
even, knowing your husband too is
Yeah.
like such an incredibly loving family.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned people, being rude and saying wrong things online. We share some other things in common.
Yeah.
We've caught our fair share of attacks from people online.
Yeah.
For some similar reasons. And so let's rewind the tape a little bit. Let's go back to about 2014. You did the celebration of gospel on BET. And somebody shouted you out. Somebody named Nick.
Yeah.
Nicki Minaj is what they call her in the streets. The Barbie gave you a shout out, which leads to a friendship, right? A lot of people don't know that.
Right.
And then by 2017, a collaboration. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Okay, now I caught my flack, and we can talk about that too. But only a few people would have took this type of a risk, right? On both sides, on her side and on your side. Only a few people would have even tried to, and there's only a handful of successful, like that kind of cross collateralization, that kind of like meeting in the middle. Why would you take the risk? Like, what made you say, I'm gonna do it? You ain't seen a lot of it, I'm sure, coming from where you came from, you knew it was gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
Like, what made you say, this is worth the risk?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is confidence in my calling.
Okay.
So we go back to
Bridge.
the bridge. Yeah, I had confidence in my calling. I knew what I was taught to do, and though some people thought it was just, CCM gospel, no, it's a calling altogether. Holistically, I am called to bring cultures together to worship. And so that's number one, having confidence in my relationship with God, which goes back to, the roots. That, the same God that I worshiped when I was 10 is the same one that speaks to me now. And I have confidence in his voice, and I know it is him. And so when this happens, you have that part of you that knows, man, this is about to be an uproar. But again, because of focus and being driven and being confident in what I'm supposed to do, I was here. I was so focused on this is what God said and this is what I'm going to do. I didn't put a lot of focus on what the backlash would be, and those around me didn't either. Because even my label, I have to give kudos to Motown because I knew it was a thing, but they didn't make it a thing. They were like, hey, we trust the God in you, and if you say this is what we gotta do, and all hands on deck, this is what we gotta do. And so even the people around me were super supportive of the decision that I made to do it. And I would do it again. I would do it again today. I would do it again next year and the year after that. I stand on the fact that this is what God told me to do. And there's evident and proof. You know what I'm saying? And it may take 2-3 years for you to see the fruit. But I've seen the fruit. I've seen people, and I've totally different people. People have sent messages like, I didn't listen to a gospel record at all until I heard that song. I didn't believe in God until I heard that song. Like those testimonies alone, just like Jesus here, leave the 99 for the one. So if I gotta make the 99 mad to save the one, that's what I'm gonna do. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on real quick, wait a minute. I need you to know this. We're in season 2 of the DJ. And season 2 is about stories. Specifically stories from people that you want to hear from. Stories that you want to hear. Tell us what stories you want to hear. Tell us the people whose stories you want to hear. Because I'm a firm believer that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, our stories. So we want to tell those stories here on the DJ. Let me know who you want to hear from and what you want to hear about. Alright? Blessings. It sounds like Coach Jesus calling plays.
Come on.
And you like, I'm gonna run this play. But the people in the stands like, don't run that play.
Oh, they gonna get shout out.
I can't believe you ran that play. Right, that's what it sounds like. And that makes perfect sense why you, to me, it makes perfect sense why you risk it. She ended up saying like, this is the first time she put her faith on display. Why did she risk it? Like, cause it could have went sideways for her too. You know, like, I'll just tell a quick story for me. I've done a few collaborations, and I did one with Big Crit, and they blasted him so bad. They said, "How can they was blasting me? They didn't know they was blasting him. They was blasting me. They said, Lecrae, how can you do a song with such a singer? How can you do a song with such a whatever? And it made him feel like the church hates him so much, he didn't want to have anything to do with it. And I'm just exactly. But like for her, you know, y'all, man, like. I don't know if you know, but like, what would make her want to take that, want to do that?
You know, I think she trusted the relationship with me.
Yeah.
You know, she had said to me several times that, you know, there's something about your anointing that I just feel. You know, I can feel it when I listen to your songs. And she was a avid worshiper to like my songs. Like she would listen to the song. And I think there was just this comfort that she felt like if I'm gonna do it with anybody, I know this person, I know her relationship with God, and I feel protected in that. And again, this is not something that she said. It's kind of something that I feel like she needed a personal connection with whoever it would be in order to do that.
I think a lot of people forget that how, no matter how big a celebrity is, they're human beings. You know what I'm saying? Human beings who need order, who need friends, who need community, who need access, and they don't always feel safe. So it's like, where's a safe place I can go to even? Because I don't trust these folks, but she trusted you in that dynamic. I give you much applause to that. Like, I don't know how you dealt with it. I know I was very annoyed.
Right.
I may clap back a few times. I may got out of pocket out of character. It may seem, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it may seem Peter to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How did that make you feel? How did you feel when all the negative commentary was going on?
You know what? There is a place of like I can't believe it. You ever go there like I can't believe people are like like in my mind I would often say this is just crazy because I have this open space in my heart where God can save anybody. You know, God can heal anybody. He can be God to anybody. And he is. You know, so I feel that same way in my heart that, man, if somebody wants to worship and they receive backlash because of that, it breaks my heart. You know, so for the most part, I was just heartbroken during that time. Like, really praying for her that if she saw any of this, it wouldn't like hinder her from wanting to express her relationship with Christ again. And so that's what I felt at that time. There were times that I was, you know, angry and wanted to say something. I operated with a lot of restraint during that time. I don't know. I think at first, when it first happened, I think I put out like a meme, or it was a meme or something that came out, and I didn't want to do that. But after that, I was just like, okay. If I don't respond, I don't give them any fuel. But for all y'all that are out there to be like, y'all shouldn't respond, it's hard.
Whoa.
To operate with straight sometimes it's coming for you. And a lot of it is just, it lacks truth. Yep. It lacks wisdom. It doesn't have a lot of resource or understanding. Yes. So it's just hard. But
we supposed to be godly out here, man. I'm trying to think. Tasha godly. Like, for real. Because y'all have seen me get out of pocket a couple times. Tasha loves the Lord. Because I let him tell you.
Yeah, see, I'll lose some people, though. Like, my God can be like, you respond right now. Like, I got 5 minutes.
Tasha said the goons out. You're like, who is user 8875? Oh, man. I really appreciate it. Just like, just to come with you and just to know, like, and it's funny, even now, just to see that sometimes, like that relationship, like I still see it. We got super dope. It wasn't just transactional, it was relational. And that's a lot of people don't see it. So, it's gonna be, hey, dog, when Nikki gonna be 82 and Tasha gonna be 80, and they gonna be sitting around and like talking about the Lord.
I also feel like you and I making those decisions, it kind of opened up doors. Like you see those collaborations more. I appreciate that. I'm grateful that people like you just. Maverick City just did a song with Glorilla.
Yep.
Like that was unheard of.
It was mad.
Yeah, it was mad. But I think it gave people a little bit more boldness to say, okay, I'm gonna take a stand. Yeah.
When it's relational, it's 10 times better because it's like, man, you really like I can call the people on this collaboration. You know what I mean? I can send them good responses. So that's always you talked about it earlier, just how much Kenneth has like grounded you, supported you. Let's talk about Let's talk about You know what I mean? Let's get into that. You know what I mean? Like, I see the way he supports you out in South Carolina. I see like just it feels like you really have an advocate.
Yeah.
Y'all got something special. Y'all go in the trenches together. Yeah. And a lot of times when the woman is out front like that, it's generally assumed that the man behind the scenes is like soft or like like, is that the case for y'all? Did you have to like say, give me some little backbone because I'm gonna need her, or was it like a mutual understanding that hey, you're gonna be visible and I'll be invisible, but we're gonna move together? Like, what was that like for y'all?
I think it's always been the dynamic of our relationship that he is just like you said, he's so supportive. Kenny is the calm to my storm.
Yeah. Okay.
I am the storm. He is the calm, but he's also very strong.
Okay.
So when you say the dynamic between us, it looks like it's so crazy how this can work. It looks like I'm the strong one because I'm on the stage. I am not. Okay. I'm the one that's like, okay, I need a moment right now. Yeah. I'm super introvert. Okay. So in those moments, like I am the most awkward kind of. I'm like, oh my God, I need my husband right now. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. What's this conversation about? Like literally, I lean on him for every single thing. Yeah. And it's so God. It's a God thing. Like the way we just match our personality, the way we lead, like we have a church. He's the fatherly, warm, the way he leads, he's a processor, he's an engineer by trade, so he's about processing. I'm just like, let's go. This is what God said, let's go for it. Talk about what's the process gonna be here? So we match when it comes to that. He's super talented, of course, producing, musician, all that kind of stuff. So the way that our kids just kind of merge beautiful, it's awesome. So he's the strong one. I am the one that leads.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I think that's awesome. My wife is like she's solid, strong, sturdy, doesn't get shaken. I'm like, man, you believe in well, you might want to just get off the internet. Yeah, don't get it off. He's like, oh, you're right. He's like, but I wanna, you know, and I wanna share light. You can articulate as much as you want to articulate. I know you talked about it before, but I also want to be sensitive. Um, y'all to, or let's say, historically, I guess you got a prophecy about you having a child. And then, you know, y'all get married, and like, what's that? The outcome of the story. Some people don't know the outcome. I'll let you share what you feel comfortable.
Yeah. So we have a blended family. We have 4 amazing children, ranging from 22 to 3.
Okay.
Figure it out. How do we do this? But we got married in 8 years this year, and for about a year, you know, we were trying to have a baby, trying to conceive, and it just wasn't happening. And honestly, throughout my adult life, I felt like there may be some issues going on with me, like reproductive wise. And so we went to a doctor and they told me that I had endometriosis. And so with that, the scar tissue from the endometriosis had caused some major issues as far as reproducing. And so for a year, we went back and forth to Houston once a month. We would fly to Houston once a month to clear the endometriosis out of my body. And so after a year, we said, okay, we're gonna go through with IVF. I was right at 40 years old at the time, and so it was.
That's like when they the process of like injections like that.
Yeah. So the IVF. I was right at 40, maybe 39 at the time, and so that's already, you know, you're a little older. Yeah, you're older, and so I didn't have a lot of huge egg count. Okay. And so we said, okay, we're gonna go through IVF. We're gonna have the embryos, take the embryos. We had 3 embryos and 1 embryo that was like perfect, and so we implanted the embryo and we lost the baby. So, of course, you know, and I wanted to talk about this because during that time, when losing a baby, it was right before I was about to record an album called Royalty. So I'm going into this album thinking, oh, I'm going to talk about we're going to priesthood and, you know, holy nation, I did this fellowship wearing crowns, all this gold, and I'm thinking, you know, I'm going to go into this. You got to do this kind of stuff. You know, I never thought that album would be birthed in a season where I was questioning my relationship with Christ, where I had shattered faith. You know, I didn't know what I really believed anymore. You know, and that album, though it didn't sell as much as the other records, when people talk to me about going through seasons of depression and dark seasons of their lives, they always testify about that. And it was birthed from a place where I was broken, man. I was broken. And I feel like this, I'm in this place right now where I feel like ministers and people who are called to release music that helps people navigate life, I feel like we should lean in a little bit more to those people who, okay, I'm a believer, but right now, I don't know how much I believe. You know, right now, I'm broken.
I know that.
You know, and during that time, I struggled to find ministry that spoke to me in that place. Just to be honest, I struggled to find that. And so, even right now, I'm in that space now. I want to minister to the person who has shattered faith. It's not completely gone. It's just that right now, I'm in a place where I'm just, you know, I don't understand. So that's where I was, and I put out that record, and there was one thing I knew, one thing I heard, God say, do this anyway, and I was like, oh man, in a broken place. If you go back and look at those videos, I was still bandaged up from, you know, I had a bandage, I was swollen, just from all the injections and hormones, and I remember just being shattered in my face, and I got home after that recording, and Kenny just being the comforting husband that he was, he made sure that he comforted me. He spoke to our pastor, Derek Daniels is our pastor, and so, you know, Pastor Derek was just kind of talking us through, and he would talk to me through Kenny during that time. I wasn't doing a lot of talking, just kind of, just trying to figure it out. And one of the things that I had to do is revisit that relationship with Christ. So now I'm 10 years old. He's a good God. Yeah. He's a sovereign God, and even though I don't understand what he's doing right now, he's gonna work for my good because that's who he is. I had to revisit that. I had to just become reassured in the fact that though life is uncomfortable sometimes and it's painful sometimes, God is still good. I had to really, really root myself. It was almost like revisiting salvation. I had to do it again. Like I had to, and this was a decision that I had to make. It was a choice that I had to make. That when the person who has been singing about faith, teaching about faith, preaching about faith, really has to operate in faith because faith is so much than faith. And I had to be honest with myself that my it wasn't where I had been preaching that it was. It was shattered quickly. I questioned God quickly. Like the God that I've been seeing about all those years, something in life happened.
Yep.
The first place, just like we talk about the children of Israel, we talk about them and how they question God quickly, but when something happens in life, I'm telling you, your humanity, it stands up. Yep. And you start questioning the God that you've been preaching about. Yep. That's where I was. And I had to revisit that relationship and get to know him again. Yeah. That though I don't feel good, you are good. That's where I had to go. And after that, about 6 months, into that, I remember my husband came to me and he was like, hey, what do you think about adoption? And I did not hear my husband's voice. I didn't hear him, processing through something. I heard the voice of God. As I heard him speaking the will of God over our lives. And I said this to Tim, that a lot of times we hear God's will, but we don't stick around for his way. We immediately, sometimes I grew up in church and people would hear these prophetic words and they fall out before you get a whole word. Get the whole word and hear his way. Yeah. Because a lot of times our hearts are broken a lot because we chose to do it our way and not his way. And we, a lot of us, if we be honest, we could have spared ourselves a lot of heartache had we stayed and waited on his way. But we want to move quickly. And so when I heard God's way through my husband, we went through the process of adoption. Yeah. To do God's way. And we have our beautiful boy Asher, who literally, we couldn't have designed a baby who is more perfect for our family. Yeah. But we had to choose to do it God's way. Man, I know that was a lot.
That was amazing. And it was so much, that was just, you are telling a story, but you have so much experience and wisdom that it comes off like profound nuggets of truth and wisdom. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not just your story, but it's so many other people's journey. It's my journey. And the way you're talking about how you, it's almost like somebody saying, I got shot in the head. Let me tell you how it worked for me. And it's like, oh, okay, you survived this situation, and how can I survive my situation? And then you get to the place where it's like, oh, it didn't happen the way I thought it would, but his way was better in the first place. And a lot of people would see, adoption as like plan B instead of God's divine plan. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny. Because it's like we all want a biological child, and that's the way our brains think, but at the same time, it's like, you do realize that Jesus said we are adopted. You do realize you're adopted. Like God He chose you. And to me, I'm like, that's even more amazing to say, out of all the kids in the world,
I was chosen.
You. That's the one I want. So, kudos to you. Like, what do you, I guess what you say to other Christians who are like processing or seeing like, man, the only way to get this blessing is biological children? Like, what would you, is there any advice or any encouragement for folks like that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I would say is to be open to God's way.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen God work miracles.
Sure.
You know, these people, my cousin's sister waited 9 years. And after 9 years, her and her husband gave birth to a miracle baby.
Yeah.
So God will do it, but trust His way. If God is saying, I think you have to stay at the feet of Jesus to seek out how He desires for it to come to pass for you. You know, and don't take on the pressures of everybody. You know, people, it's a sensitive subject that I don't know culturally, we know how sensitive it is. Because a lot of times people are telling me, when y'all won't have a kid, when you won't do this. And I think a lot of times you don't understand how triggering it is for people who may be in a season where they're not birthing the child that they thought they would birth, you know, the natural way. And sometimes you're vacillating in your mind, how is this going to happen for me? And then to have that constant, you know, it could be family members, it could be friends who constantly putting that pressure on you. Take the pressures off of yourself and just really sit at God's feet and see what He desires for you.
That's so good.
Yeah,
you're right. It is. I have one of our really close friends, very similar situation, and they battled for years, and it ended up adopted. And I love those kids. You know what I'm saying? And they are the sweetest kids, and just it's something special and unique to be able to say, like, you're not my second option.
Yeah.
Because I could ask for you anyway. I decided you. You know what I mean? I love that.
We tell Asher every night, Mommy and Daddy choose you every day. Every day. You are our choice. Yeah.
That's so good. I don't know if you know. You've been dropping gym after gym after gym. Now you've just been telling stories.
Right.
But they coming off like gems.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably very similar to what your book does do anyway.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the book and the workbook and like what's good, you know what I mean?
So do it anyway, man. So about a year and a half ago, my literary agent came to me and she was just like, I don't know your book. You know, she's like, what's your book gonna be about? I'm thinking, that's what you're supposed to tell me. You know, so she was like, well, tell me about your life. So I started to tell stories about my life, like we've been talking today. I talked a lot about my father, who, you know, he's just impactful, playing a major role in the foundation of who I am. And I started to talk about that, and I kept saying this phrase, you know, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I figured out what to do anyway. She was like, Tasha, I think that's your book. I think that's what you need to talk about. And so she asked me, she's like, just start thinking about stories in your life where you had to choose to get up and do it anyway. And so I went back to the story in 2013. My dad was a pastor. We talk about that often, but it was like country pastor. We did vacations from Sunday evening to Saturday night. So we back on Sunday morning. We did not miss church. He was the one on stage, the last one to leave, the first one came back. And so during that time, award season was coming up for Break Every Chain, the album Grace was out. And I was nominated for Doves, for Stellars, for Grammys, and everything was coming up. And I was just thinking to myself, man, it's going to be on a Sunday. Daddy can't miss a Sunday. You know, we're going to miss a Sunday. And so my dad and my mom, they chose to come to Nashville to the Stellar Awards. And he would miss a Sunday at our church, and it was huge. You know, I was like, man, they always chose us first. Like, my parents always chose us first. Even though we probably was itching to get back home, he chose to be in Nashville with me. And so, looking out, I had 60 seconds to see Break Every Chain. I looked out in the audience, my dad was beaming from ear to ear, smiling. And it just so happened that year they had a satellite stage that they sat in the middle of the room. And my dad and my mom were sitting right there. So 60 seconds I'm singing Break Every Chain, and I'm right, and he's beaming. And my dad was a carpenter. So he had built this stereo. Funny story. So my independent album is called Smile. So my dad was the executive producer. I tricked him. I was like, Dad, you're the executive producer. He's like, oh, that sounds incredible. So he paid for that record, and for a year, he would be like, when does the executive producer get his money back? Like, he would always be like, and so my promise to him, I was like, Dad, if I ever win some awards, they all belong to you. We'll pay you back. We'll pay you back. Wow. And so he built this curio for all the awards that he felt that his daughter was going to win. And so
before you had won it.
Before I won any award.
Wow.
And so That night at the Stellars, I won 3 Stellar Awards. And I'll never forget, we were all hanging out in William Murphy's hotel room. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe 3. And he was like, call Dad and see if he want to come down here. I was like, we got Daddy in Nashville. He's not coming to your hotel room. So I texted him, I was like, Dad, we're hanging out to celebrate. And he was like, me and your mama on the way. I was like, are you okay? You know, so he came, my dad was one of 2 things. He was either profound or very, very funny. My dad was hilarious. So that night, he pulled out his amazing comedy show. He had us, I mean, we were in the floor crying laughing. Oh, man. And I remember he got ready to leave to go back to their room, and he had my awards in his hand. And he was getting on the elevator, and I was like, Dad, pull out one of them, I want to take a picture. And so I snapped a picture of my dad holding my Stellar Award. And when he got on the elevator, that would be the last time I saw my dad on earth. The next morning, he had a heart attack in the car, driving back home and he went to be with Jesus. And I remember leading up to it, my dad kept saying, Daddy's going to Nashville, but I'm not going to be in LA, but I want you to go anyway to the Grammy Awards. He kept saying, Daddy's not going to be with you in LA, but I want you to go anyway. And we kept saying, why does he keep saying that? We don't think you're going to LA. We're surprised you're in Nashville. He just kept saying, I want you to go anyway. And I realize now that he was leaving with me the last lesson he would leave, that Tasha would like these challenges. You gotta dig deep. Even if your heart is broken, you don't understand it, and do it anyway. And so I went to LA 7 days after my dad went to be with the Lord, and I won a Grammy for Break Every Chain. And the only reason I was there is because he told me to do it anyway. Yeah. So,
needless to say, don't get that book.
So I wrote this book because I wanna put that lesson into the ears and the eyes of as many people as I can. That life is gonna get tough. We understand that. You know, that's scriptural. It says you're gonna have some tribulation.
Right.
But you gotta dig deep.
Right.
And do what God told you to
Trial produce perseverance and endurance.
Okay.
Wow.
The lion is
So
finished.
Lion. Yeah.
Only lion.
More stories in there like you need to look tomorrow.
Yeah. Right. So, and then we did a devotional. The devotional is 60 days to a golden faith. So after you finish the book, this kind of walks you through 60 days, where even in those 60 days, I tell stories. It's the real stories that are
May I live in this
as well.
sharp.
But it walks you through like scripture and just some stories that I share.
What's the name of the devotional again?
So do it anyway.
Do it anyway.
60 days to a bolder faith.
A bolder faith.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we on that. That might be in, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes. She's so sweet, by the way.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Like, her going to the Grammys with you. Oh man, that was so great.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, she
Oh,
thought
man,
she
it's a lot of them.
And she was.
Strongo.
It was an interesting time.
It really was. Yeah.
So it was funny because I remember FaceTime me like,
Yes.
yeah.
It was so crazy, man. I was pulling up because, you know, we started the church. So during that time, I think I just came in from somewhere and I was like, I feel like I really need to be here with Kimmy in the church right now.
Yeah.
And so we ended up not going. I was driving up the driveway and my label called me and was like, congratulations. I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, y'all just won a Grammy. I literally got out of the car at the driveway and FaceTime Kenny. He's in the house. When stuff like that happens, you're just not thinking, just random stuff. Like, why don't you just go in the house? I called him from the driveway like, hey, we literally won the Grammy for your power. It was crazy, man.
We didn't talk about that, but it's funny.
We didn't.
Because, excuse me. It's funny because I remember, I don't even know what it was. You do have like a very trustworthy kind of persona. I don't know what it is. Because honestly, when I was thinking about, it's like, I've never wanted to collaborate on a gospel record with anybody except for Kurt. Honestly, I've never wanted to because I felt like it was me. I don't want to be inauthentic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, man, it's got to be somebody who like they would have to want to do it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Not like, yeah, that's what happened. It was like when we talked, and you were, I was like, what? You and when he said that, when he said he was listening to Let the Trap Say, man, I was like, what? Man. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm gonna throw something that way and see if she rocking with it. And said it back, and I said,
Wow. Yeah.
So,
Because it was right off of the, people don't realize it was right off the cusp of the pandemic.
yes.
So we hadn't gone back into doing studio sessions. So like when Craig did his in his studio, I did mine in South Carolina. Like we weren't together during that time. It
weren't together.
Yeah.
And honestly, because the last Grammy Awards, everybody was at home.
Yep.
It was kind of like I was like, and I was nominated, you know, didn't go. And it was kind of like this one, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna go, because I don't, you know what I'm saying? We're traveling, getting back to it, so I almost wasn't gonna be there at all. So this is, God just is like, yeah,
the way he orchestrates stuff is just,
it's out of control. It's out of control. Anyway, I thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Sidebar, a lot of different people won Grammy that would have never won Grammy because of that. So thank you.
Yeah, I saw that, man. That was incredible.
Changed a lot. I mean, you already know, man. Thematically, you brought plenty of changes. And today, I appreciate it too. I know even for me sitting here talking to you, I feel like, man, yeah, oh, that was good. I think it. So I know that plenty of people in the world will listen and probably blessed. You expect anything?
Yes, I'm gonna work on some new music. I need to talk to you about that.
I'm like, let's come out.
We're working on some stuff.
I'm available.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm in the backseat, baby.
You ready? Let's do it again.
You say less. Don't tell me what a guitar.
Y'all want to know the LaQuarrie guitar?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
I heard people. That's what they say. Yes, they do. Nah, man, we love you. We appreciate you, man.
I love you, man.
We're grateful.
And thank you for this. Like this, your podcast, I told you before, but it's real. It is, I think it's like God ordained. Like people have an opportunity to share some things in a place of comfort.
Yeah.
Thank you for making me comfortable.
Absolutely.
To tell your story.
Absolutely. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Ahora es más caro.
For the podcast.
Appreciate
Más caro. Es más caro porque go job.
With LaQuarrie.
Yeah. Eu tomo o job. You are fool. Then she said I'm deep.
When women are really good at rap, generally they tapped into like this tomboy era.
I remember being in 5th grade, you know, when you got to sit in the line and go to the restroom, and them being like, the boy line over there, me being like, but like, I'm a girl. Her voice deeper than Optimus Prime. Yeah, and that's on Megatron, fall back. Like,
You do a lot of very vulnerable TikToks. You know, with your husband. I want to show you something. This is super vulnerable. You just put play. Hey, this. We go.
I'm like, yo, he ain't just my husband, this guy, baby. I'm talking regular to God, tired. I'm his wife, I'm his first line of defense. I guarantee you this man don't feel encouraged by me.
Teacher class, man. All right, so I'm gonna ask you this, and we can edit this if you want. All right, you got to a place in your personal life where you was like, I gotta do something. So why pivot and go your own direction?
You know, this is the subject, right? It really is because
What's the deal, everybody? Listen, man. It's a hometown edition, man. We got somebody who is a veteran when it comes to lyricism. I have a high respect for people who can use their words in rap music the way that she uses her. But outside of being a rap artist, a lyricist, she's a producer. Outside of being a producer, she's a mother and a wife and a leader. And man, I don't know, you may know her for a lot of different reasons, but if you don't know her, you don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a nail brand on the
man, I appreciate you having me, dog.
town in the building,
Yeah,
man.
Southwest, to be exact.
So,
Yeah, can't shake it.
like next level.
Like, and I mean, like, Southwest is where I, you know what I'm saying, get most of my maturation at. But before that, on Clark. Before that, Third Ward. Like, I'm for real.
You was trying to figure out earlier if we was related.
No, seriously, like, we might just, like, shake the family tree for real, because it's possible.
Very possible. I wouldn't doubt it. You know what I'm saying? So, I feel like, you know, we want to know the story.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because those of us who are familiar with your music and familiar with, you know, we saw you producing, we saw you with Toby, we saw you doing your vocabulary.
Come on, vocab bars.
You know what I'm saying? We see you doing all those particular things, your social media presence. But who is you?
Say, man, listen, like, I for real am regular. And I know some people feel away about me saying that, like, no, like, you know, you are this, you are. And I think the thing that I'm most proud of is that whatever list of things that you just named, I'm still just nailed. I'm from Houston, Texas, born and raised. Ain't gonna get y'all a birthday, you know what I'm saying? But born and raised. And like exactly. And I didn't start making music till like 25 years old, like professionally. Like okay, like that's what I'm gonna do. 25. Before that, like hooper, like been hooping all my life. And so I did, you know, like I did like rapping, like you be rapping when you're kids. So I was always rapping, always into that. But when it came time to go to college, I'm like, yo, ain't nothing getting in the way of playing basketball. I wasn't formally training on instrument or nothing like that. So went to college, was getting ready to graduate, getting ready to go teach and coach, and I just literally could not shake this desire to make music. Mind you, I'm not trained in no formal instrument, and I'm just not gonna be a rapper. Like I'm not gonna do that. I didn't say how that goes for people. I'm not gonna do that.
That wasn't your ambition. Like I'm gonna be a rapper.
Nah. Like I said, I did the rap thing, like with, you know what I'm saying, with my people in high school. But then when it was time to go to college and go start your life, like I'm finna go do bits. Like I'm not, and if I'm gonna do music, I'm not finna be out here. I was about to be. I'm not. Shout out to the people that y'all say I found this though. I don't want to be disrespectful, but like I'm just not finna do that. And so, but I didn't know anything about music. I ain't know nothing about nothing crazy. Like I really wanted to do it. My homie was like, "Hey, you know you can make music in a computer, right?" I'm like, "What?" Say less. But both my mama and daddy computer technicians. So I'm like, if I don't know nothing else, I know a computer. So I get my little keyboard, like what I thought was a piano. I set it down in the middle of the living room on the floor. I'm hitting the buttons. I'm like, hey, ain't no sound coming out. Like, what's up? I see a little printer cable thing in the back. I'm like, all right, cool, let me put that to the computer. I get on the computer, it's like, yeah, you need a dog. I'm like, what is a dog? Like, so I literally at like 23, 24, like from nothing, to like taught myself how to make, like how to produce, how to make music.
So I have this thing. First of all.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like I talked about the music.
Yeah.
The music is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right? You give encouragement to people who care about bars. Right?
Thank you.
Outside of that, you do a lot of very vulnerable YouTube videos and TikToks, you know, with your husband. And you share a lot about so many aspects of your life. I have a lot of little weird theories. Okay, come on. First of all, I'm always like, when women are really good at rap, generally, they got like, they tapped into like this tomboy era or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what it is, like an aggressive sport. So you always have to be like an aggressive kind of woman, like generally. Like, rarely, only the new school have I seen like a more like chill, like. But it's like, rappers, you not, so I'm just trying to figure out where did that come from?
Okay, so, you know, for me personally, because I think, you know, you can tell when you start doing that, but for me personally, rap is very synonymous with hooping. Like, those two things go hand in hand. Like, the same time I was learning how to hoop, it's at the same time I was learning how to put words together. And it just don't happen for those things, especially at those points, we're male-dominated. So, you know, when you pick up how to do the thing, like, that's, you know, that's where you pick it up from. Now, like, Glory was a hoop. You know, we want to talk about, see what I'm saying, so. And it's really my pride, because I was was good. It was good, but like, you know, they be better. But I was definitely like, that was my love. That's my first love. That's my heart.
You grew up as a kid hooping and like, I guess when you talk about male dominated, like, even as a little kid, when you were a little girl that was like, out there,
listen, this little flare and this little soft air y'all give, this new. Like this, you know what I'm saying? It's like, let me not say it's new, because obviously, like, I've been married for 10 years, you know what I'm saying? My husband did find me in the club, and I wasn't in the club in no hoodies and no sweats, okay? But me stepping all the way into it like this, and like you saying, yes, this is just the evolution of, you know, like where I'm at in my womanhood, but for sure, tomboy out. Like, tomboy out to the max. And I know what typically comes like with that story, but man, one of the most, like, the best privilege I've ever, like, feel like I got from God is, I'm talking about day one. I'm looking at my mom and daddy, and I'm like, I'm already knowing I'm gonna have me a husband and some kids. So like, with, you know what I'm saying, with the tomboy, with the hooping, with the rapping,
you gotta let them know. Do they ask you this?
No. Like, my mom and daddy always knew it, so they know their daughter. Like, and I ain't gonna sit on this podcast and sound boy crazy or nothing like that, but hey, my dog, I wasn't never lacking. Like it was always, like, I'm so serious. Like, when people would come to me with that, I kind of be like, I don't even know what it means to be, like, I had to go look it up in the dictionary. I didn't know what gay was. I didn't know what homosexual was. I remember in middle school, it was like somebody teasing me and saying that, and I was like, man, I don't even know what that is. So I went to look it up in the dictionary. I laughed out loud, like, oh no.
But they teased you?
Oh, for sure.
What?
Oh, for sure.
What
Like,
would be the,
it would be, man, I got so many moments. I don't want to, like, think that I'm traumatically locked in these spaces. But like, it's just so many, like, little things. Like, I remember being in 5th grade, and you know, when you got to sit in the line and go to the restroom, and them being like the boy line over there, and me being like, but like, I'm a girl. Like, and it's clear, like, I'm a girl, and like, with my adult woman eyes looking back, how you gonna feel as a little girl if I'm hanging out every day with the boy you like? How you gonna feel when, like, we best friends? Not like how you feel when, like, I don't never have no issue talking to him because we like all of the same stuff. Like, we're really like playing together. You know what I'm saying? Y'all sitting over there talking, chit-chatting. I'm finna go play football. They getting active, they getting to it. And so that's why it was always really confusing, like, to me, because I'm with these dudes, and I know about half of them like me. Like, I don't know where y'all getting this from, and I don't understand why it's even a thing. But you know, as you grow up, like I said, I don't ever want to minimize, like, make my experience the experience of everybody. But I know tons and dozens of women who are just like me, have been heterosexual their whole life. They just a little rough around the edges.
My wife is one of them.
Yeah, just a little rough around the edges. So all of that to say, yes, rap and group really go hand in hand to me. Like, they just are synonymous in so many ways.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have a natural, like, aggression. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, and I don't think that's masculine or feminine. I just think it's just human. You know what I'm saying? But I'm curious, like, when you found Jesus, you know what I mean? You talked a little bit about, like, you had to wrestle with that aggression, like, you had to figure out how to categorize that. Talk to us about,
first of all, I know you're gonna ask me a good question. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so look, passion is the word I typically use.
Okay.
Because I think I am very passionate. I think if you know me personally, I'm not necessarily aggressive. Like, but I am a very passionate person. Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to impose my will upon you, which I think is kind of like when you think about aggression. But passion, I believe wholeheartedly, and I'm about whatever it is that I'm talking about. Yeah. And so before I came to Christ, that passion was there, and I think, man, I just learned so much. I think that's one of the things that the enemy does well. A lot of people think you're gonna come to God and then you are a new creature. You go down to something, you come up with something different. But we don't have a good grasp about how many of the things that are you that the enemy has painted. And I'm talking about, I was real passionate, real gung-ho about issues that, you know, I could have gave my whole life to and would have never just have the fulfillment that I have being passionate about Christ. Like, if that makes sense. So the passion was already there, but when I gave my life to Christ, it pointed me in the right direction. It gave it a target.
Yeah. We were talking earlier, and you were saying like, you was talking about that experience specifically, of you like meeting the Lord. Or I don't even know if you already knew the Lord, but like, did you grow up in a Christian household? Like,
And let's get to it. So we definitely Easter and Christmas. You know what I'm saying? We definitely, and like and you know, to be fair, I want to say, like I want to say, and everybody did sports, everybody did extracurricular activities. Like my mom and daddy been together over 30 years. They got 7 beautiful, like you know what I'm saying? Like my mom and daddy out here getting 2, and so. Alright, that's what my mama gonna and so we did, you know, here we'll try to get to the Easter, we'll try to do Christmas, and then when I was in middle school, we did a real stint. Like at, you know what I'm saying, shout out to each other on Highway 6. We did like a real stint in church at that time. And that's when I got baptized. That's like the first time that I was made aware of the Holy Spirit. And standing in the choir singing, I need you need me with all the heart of God's life. And like I just felt like something from like, dang, like what is that? I'm like, oh snap, okay. Like this is different. Fast forward, I basically fall out of Christ. Because I have to take it upon myself to really like figure out what my roots are and trying to go down that one hole. And I'm like, hey. You know what I'm saying? If Jesus is gonna be this white Jesus, then y'all can have it. Like my people just have gone through too much. Like I just see the residual effects of systematic racism. Like if y'all saying like that's what he on, then I ain't gonna lie to you. Y'all can have it. I'm off of them. Y'all can have them. And mind you, at this point, I'm married. You know what I'm saying? Like me and Corey married. So Corey then walked up to the aisle, walked down the aisle with this woman talking about she professed Jesus as her Lord and Savior. Now he got somebody who out here going wrong. So shout out to my boo for just like being very patient and like literally embodying long suffering, grace, mercy, kindness. But I'm wrestling with Christ, and one day I got all my little books out. You know, I'm probably straight off of Hidden Figures. Not Hidden Figures, but Hidden Colors, or is it Colors? It's Colors. I can't even remember it now. Got all my books open, and I come across something that just sounds egregious. I'm like, ain't no way it's true. As much as I want as a black woman to be the center of everything because of how trash everybody has treated us, what I'm reading just cannot be true. And like, it just hit me. It's like, yo, if you're gonna read all of these random books from all these other random authors, and you give them the space to see, why wouldn't you just read the Bible? Just read it. Because at this point, I'm thinking, it ain't really no space for a woman in Christianity. It dang sure is problematic for black people. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just circle back. Because this is getting wild. Let me just circle back with the heart posture to see and not to defend. And look, man, like fast forward, I'm sitting here. So, you know, I have my moment, like, you know, that moment that you feel like they doing the altar call, and like my spirit led me down that aisle. My body didn't have no say so at that point. Like, hey, we getting up and we going to give our life to Christ. That happened, man, my marriage do a 180. Like, I go from, hey, listen, let's just go ahead and call it quits to, hey, how many babies you want? How many? Hold up. Wait, we gotta pause. Hold on, let's pause there. It's a couple things though, because in that articulation, you said a lot, right? And I can relate to. It's so much I can relate. It's crazy. But on one of the sections, you said you find the Lord, or seriously pursue the Lord. Yes. But this is after you have told your husband, I'm rocking with the Lord, but now I'm not. And he gotta go through this. So I went through something similar. Okay. Where it's kind of like I'm in the trenches of evangelicalism and just like, you know, I'm in it, and then I'm like, hold up, dude just got murdered in the street, and y'all telling me like, well, he deserved it. And I'm like, wait, what? That's how it goes. Yep. So I was like, if this is how Christians think, I don't know if I want to be Christian, because I hadn't, again, my upbringing was the traditional black churches that I had came up in. I felt like it was just emotional, so I threw them out. Okay. And then this new kind of evangelical church I came in,
is no emotion. So I threw them out, so I'm left with nothing. And I tell my wife, look, I don't know what we're gonna do now. I know what that was like for me. What was that experience like for y'all?
At this point, I'm very selfish, so I don't even have no, like, I don't really care how this affects me. I'm not going back to that church. You can do what you want to do. I'm not going back to that church. At this point, because mind you, this is why my marriage is suffering, because I have no idea what it means to move in unity. And listen, you can watch people all you want. My mom and dad been married for 30 years. I watched moving low and rock each other for 30 years. That still ain't doing a whole lot for me as a relationship. Trying to figure out how to assimilate myself to and with into oneness with this man. So you asked me, like, what was that like for y'all? You might get Corey down here to tell you what it's like to have an unbelieving wife. But as for me,
hey, Corey's in the building. We can summon him.
As for me, I'm like, yo, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know how this stuff is resonating with you. But let me tell you why I'm not going back there. And I don't know if I'll ever be returning to established Christianity because this stuff just don't make any sense. And so, you know, that's just, I was so selfish. Like now, being Mrs. Grant. Like for a long time, I even struggled with that. No, call me Mrs. Linnell Grant. Don't, like my name can't just disappear. Like, and, you know, I know that might be hard for me because you like, hey, why you on? And it's just like, because when I go and I completely assimilate to you, that's it. When people see you, they gotta see me. And I gotta trust that when they see you, they see me. I have to trust that I'm not going to disappear into just whatever it is that you are. And so now with that mind, like, boo, like, my bad. You know, like, what does it look like for your wife to not just be, I might be deconstructing, but I'm full out radical, and y'all can have Christ. And you got, like, still take her to the family function. You got to. So I can't tell you what it's like, but I can assume that it was very trying.
Now that's really interesting. You know what else is interesting? Is ad-free content. Like not having this interview interrupted by ads. And that's what I believe you want. The way that happens is by you subscribing to B-Side, where you will get seamless ad-free content. And you'll be able to enjoy this interview along with tons
Too much
of
pain
others
now.
without any interruption.
Too much pain.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I can imagine. Look, of course, something that I'm just serious, like you in the self-same mind.
Huh?
Are you like what are you thinking when? Because I've seen some of y'all's conversations with you was like, we gotta get divorced. You know, like how did you get there? And then like well, walk us through that.
Okay, look, man, look, God, and okay, so look, we get married, and it's all good. Like everything is cool. Like
Lies show me.
Ain't nothing crazy that happened. Like ain't no abuse, ain't no business.
You know,
like,
this is gonna be so beautiful now. Next month you're here again. Next month, so man.
One year. And
Okay, maybe not next month, but in this year you're coming back. Within this year.
Or I don't like this, or I'm not happy. Like everything else in my life is going great. Like I'm teaching, I'm coaching, you know, like I'm thriving in these other areas. Like I'm teaching myself a whole craft. Like if this part of my life is not okay, it's not because it's me, it's you. Look at all the other things I do well. Look at how amazing I am. Like it's hard for me to go back here because it's just so egregious, but like this is, I don't even want to say it, like you would be lucky like to have me. Like I hate to even like go back to that now, but that's just where I was for real at mentally. Like you need to figure out like how to be married. I come from a two-parent home. It's not me that doesn't understand it. It's you. You need to figure it out. You need to get yourself together. And it literally took Christ. I'll say like this. One day I'm in my classroom at school. It's during my passing period, and I'm coming undone in there. And in hindsight, it's because my spirit and my flesh was at odds. But I'm in this classroom. I'm just like, yo, like if you're a real guy, you show us. Like
almost done, Jimmy. Almost done. Don't worry.
I'd be a great believer. Like I'd be an amazing believer, but you're gonna have to show yourself. You're gonna have to prove yourself. What? and full on tears, like just emotional tears, like anger and because it don't matter what you amass in this world, that emptiness and keep nothing satisfied. And so I'm in there crying out, and the Holy Spirit put this prayer on my tongue because I promise you it wasn't me. I said, but you let me know before tragedy strikes. Like I can't even, like that's not the mindset I was in. So there's no way that I could have functionally prayed like pray that prayer. I know for a fact Holy Spirit put that prayer on my tongue. All right, fast forward, you know what I'm saying? I for real like give like Christ a try. Walk down the aisle, and I'm not walking down the aisle, but go to the altar, give my life to God, and He just started making me over. So all of us like, and it didn't happen like instantly, but it did happen in a very short amount of time. And so I was like, you know what, God, if I got this thing down, I'm gonna go over here. You're gonna work on me, and because you are who you are, you're gonna do whatever you're gonna do yourself something. Like, okay, cool. But during this time, like my eyes started changing. I'm like, yo, this is just my husband. This guy, baby. I'm talking regular God, child. I'm his wife. I'm his first line of defense. I guarantee you, this man don't feel encouraged by me.
Teach a class now.
Like, and it just like, oh, you struggling to submit to your husband because you struggling to submit to Christ. You don't know your place. You don't know your place in Christ. So you out here walking all over thinking just because you can do something, that means you should be doing it. Or just because you see a gap that you should be feeling it. And it don't matter if you feel that gap or not. It's different when you feel it versus when a man feels it. And like God really just wrestled with me and made me over mentally. And so, you know, you're asking me like how you get from point A to point B. You know, I'm letting that word wash over me. You know what I'm saying? I'm in a connect group. I'm being discipled. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like walking things out in practicality. And it just helps, you know, when your spouse is a believer as well. So we begin to have that real third string. Like you feel this way, I feel this way, but what does God say? Like how we really supposed to be operating. That's how you get from, hey, I'm finna leave you in Christ. Hey, what's up? Don't say nothing crazy about court. Like that's how you get that transition.
Okay, so it's funny you brought this up because I had forgot about this, but you was talking about you was submitted to Christ, you was submitted to your husband. I saw. On social media.
1 minute for me, 1 minute, only 1 minute.
Okay.
And people was a little.
I don't feel good. That's crazy.
Maybe they feeling.
Okay.
A little bit. Yeah, all right. You know what I'm talking about. You feel me?
That's so much fun. Let's go.
Like I generally am excited when you go by.
Sorry?
The pain
Yeah, well, it's less than one.
My fingers.
Y'all not gonna make me no marriage counselor. I can tell y'all my experiences, but I don't know
Tell us
a little bit about that experience and just like.
Man, look, man, hey,
What did you feel like you was communicating? And what did you feel like they heard?
Hey, look, like here's the thing. You're gonna be sorely disappointed. Hey, I was in a spot where I was trying to post every day. And I just went in my phone and I found something that I could post. Like, it wasn't even that deep. Now, you know, the concept of it was like not even an intermission, just between the song and my set. And the next song that I was coming to was about my boo. So, you know, I just did like what you do as an artist, you give a little, you know what I'm saying, a little free little, give a, you know what I'm saying, get the audience mind, you know, get towards where you're going. And I'm just like, hey, you know, Corey Grant is my husband. Like, y'all don't get me without him because, like, I have lived a version of this life where I'm stepping without him. And that stuff is imploding in my face. So y'all don't get me without him. Even when it ain't a complete yes from him, even when the answer take all day, I'm like, no.
You did it, Sana, you did it.
Because I know what it's like to be out here uncovered without my husband. So,
Wait, come here. Wait, where are you going to? Hey, show me your stuff.
Now, I am a woman's woman.
Come closer.
I champion women. You're not going to get a woman who cares about the concerns of women more than I do. However, I chose to ask my husband for his permission because it comes with his provision and his protection. Now listen, I don't know why that would make the world blow up. It seems very, very practical and in line to me. But you know what? A lot of men, they wanted to jump in the comments and deal with the women who didn't understand it. But I take no inventory of that post. And it ain't the women who was the problem. It's not, now mind you, yes, you know, we got some of us, like, it's a lot of us out here who just like struggle in that area and all of those things. But right, most of the women in those comments were asking me questions, were trying to understand it. Or why would she say that? Or why you? And for every woman that was her posture, and I met her with, I understand where you at. I feel you. I'm not just talking out the side of my neck. I was there. This is how I got here. You know, everything that I'm saying about my husband is really a direct reflection about how I feel about my God. Like, when I was like speaking to them, disarmed, no issues. But these, get together now. Get together now.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Some of my brethren,
See you guys tomorrow, the next live.
they